Good evening and welcome to the second part of the September 26th, 2022 Select Board meeting. We did open the meeting before our executive session and did roll call, so we won't be doing that. So I'll go right to the announcements. We have lots of need for volunteers as always. The Public Celebrations and Ceremonies Committee, as well as the Council on Aging Board, are two of the current needs. Board members are invited to attend a workshop on how to manage more effective meetings. That is this Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's being hosted by the Wellbeing Committee, run by Nancy Settle Murphy. So even though the deadline has passed, I'm sure that there's time if anybody would like to attend. The town is currently accepting applications for a town planner and associate planner. On Sunday, October 9th, the Boxborough Museum will be open. If you have not been to the Boxborough Museum, it is an experience. It's worth it just to go see our hearse that was built in 1881, and we have a new hearse as well as an old hearse. The admission is free. Also, the school committee is currently discussing the possibility of renaming the pool at the high school after the late Jeff Johnson, who was the former Hall of Fame swim coach for Acton Boxborough. If you wish to provide feedback, there's a survey link on the town's website and it'll be open until 10/4. It's a Survey Monkey link. If you have a concern about an item that's not listed on the agenda, please raise it during community concerns. If you have a question or comment about an item that is on the agenda, you'll be recognized after board members have had the opportunity to get their questions answered. Due to time constraints, the board may not be able to accommodate comments from all residents on all topics. Please wait to be recognized by the chair before addressing the board. This is a forum for public input, questions, and criticism. However, we ask all participants to be respectful and civil. If a community member displays behavior repeatedly that is inappropriate or does not respect the chair's right per Mass General Law to ask someone to stop speaking at any point, they will be muted for the rest of the meeting and may not be called upon in the future. We thank you for understanding. Okay. Approval of minutes. We have minutes in our packet from August 2nd. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Or do you want to make the motion, Wes, and then we can discuss?
Sure. I'll move to approve the regular minutes of August 2nd, 2022 as presented.
Second.
Did anyone have any comments or concerns on the minutes? Okay. I'll do a roll call vote. Les?
Fox, aye.
Wes?
Oops, aye.
Diana?
Lipari, aye.
And Campbell, aye. Okay. Community concerns. Anyone have any concerns they'd like to share? Okay, seeing no hands raised. We don't have any new employees or promotions, correct, Rajan and Carter? Not tonight. Okay. We do have an appointment for a member of the Finance Committee on the Boxborough Building Committee. Priya Sundaram has graciously volunteered to step up and be that liaison. Does someone want to make a motion?
I'll move
I'll do that. I'd like to move to appoint Priya Sundaram to the Boxborough Building Committee for the term indicated. If I can just find it, I will tell you what it is.
Second.
It doesn't have a term in our agenda.
Okay.
I think it's until the resolution of it.
Pardon?
So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say it's Priya would not be a liaison. She's a voting member of the committee.
Yes, right.
All right.
She's now the second member from the FinCom.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Les?
Fox, aye.
Wes?
Oops, aye.
Diana?
Lipari, aye.
And Campbell, aye. Okay, no resignations. So we've got the motion about the town administrator contract. So the public knows the contract itself will not be made public until it is signed, which is expected to on Wednesday. But what we need to do is to make a motion tonight in an open session about completing that contract. So does someone want to make a motion?
Oh, I will. So I'll move that having satisfactorily completed all background and reference checks together with all required contract negotiations, I move to confirm and ratify the appointment of Michael C. Johns to the position of town administrator and to authorize the execution of the contract as presented contingent upon transfer of $37,500 and no cents from the reserve fund transfer and said amount by the finance committee as presented.
Diana,
second.
you did. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'd like to make an amendment. Since it is not upon the completion of those background checks, it should be upon the satisfactory completion of those background checks because they have not been completed as far as I know, or we don't have.
I think that's Rajan, that's on his plate. So I think that it's not unreasonable for him to be completed by Wednesday.
Okay. Also, with the amount, you said 47? I thought it was 37.
37, sorry,
37.
37,500.
Yes, thank you. So I second.
All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, I guess for the public, who has not necessarily, and I guess also the board, who has not necessarily had a lot of interactions with Michael, in talking with him and negotiating, I will say that he was actually ecstatic about coming to Boxborough, and he actually withdrew from another town where he was a finalist candidate. And so he tentatively agreed to this contract, and I think I'm also really excited, and I've heard from a lot of other people that they're excited as well. He did tell me an interesting story that he was meeting with some friends who they used to do ski patrol and found out that one of them just bought a house in Boxborough. And they're like, do you even know this town? He's like, well, actually I do. I'm in the process of potentially becoming their town administrator. So I thought it was a very interesting story, but I will say that from what I've seen is actually a ton of energy and excitement. And so I'm really excited and looking forward to having him join us.
Yeah, with the experience and knowledge to back it up. So we're working on transition plans with Carter. So okay.
Just a quick question, maybe for Carter. I don't know if now is the time to kind of discuss not necessarily the parameters, but the methodology behind it. I don't know if it's okay to say anything about that or if it's
about the transition.
I would the transition
about the.
I wouldn't.
Okay, we
think,
can put that on a future item.
Well, we also have to finish voting on this.
Well, yeah. So I just wanted to give the public some context around it because it's not necessarily
It's until it's complete. Until it's complete, it remains fluid, and in general, details are not released until they're executed.
Sounds good.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Les?
Fox, aye.
Wes?
Oh, sorry.
Diana?
Lepari, aye.
And Campbell, aye. Okay, so moving on to the Weatherby Steel Farmhouse funds. Is that you, Carter?
The board had previously authorized the advisory committee to apply for CPC funds in the amount of $285,000. It had been a suggestion from the board that they revisit the number to allow for a construction contingency, a very wise suggestion given the experience we've had at Liberty Field and some of the other projects. And Jean Kangas just wanted to come back in and run it by you. She's added a little under 10% to bring it up to, I believe it's 310,000 if I remember the email correctly, Jennifer.
Yes, $310,000. So we just need to vote on this.
That's, I think would make Jean feel more comfortable.
Okay. All right, so does someone want to make a motion to amend our prior action on the Steel Farm Advisory Committee to apply to the Community Preservation Committee CPC for fiscal year 24 funding of $310,000 for the stabilization of the exterior of the 1784 Levi Weatherby Steel Farmhouse as presented?
So moved.
Second, anyone?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further
Sorry,
discussion?
I was muted.
Oh,
I was like, I
Any
said
discussion?
second, guys.
Someone who's not muted, please second that.
all right, so I'll take a roll call vote. Les,
Fox, aye.
Wes,
Okay.
Diana,
Lepari, aye.
and Campbell, I. All right, moving on to the meat and potatoes of tonight, the draft warrant. Thank you to everyone who's worked on the warrant so far. So I know we've got a lot of changes since the last time.
I'd like to draw your attention not to all of the redlining and such, but to Article 3, if we might go there.
Do you want me to share?
Yes, please. If you would, please.
Mhm. All right, do you see it?
We do.
Okay.
So I did meet after the Finance Committee meeting of the last Tuesday with the chair of the Finance Committee. They gave me some initial impressions. And so you're going to see some of the amounts have now been inserted, some have been struck. And the desire of the Finance Committee to use some free cash instead of it being all taxation. There is one wild card issue we talked about. Becky, I don't think, has been able to get an answer yet from the state as to whether if you opt in to perform a similar function, providing those mail cards, whether you're in, once you vote in, you're in forever. So this will take up with the Finance Committee again tomorrow night as this evolves. If we could go to Article 5.
And Carter, just when will we be voting on this?
I believe that's scheduled for the 12th of October.
Okay.
So what we'll have is the Finance Committee tomorrow night. We'll make some additional changes. This remains a little bit fluid, but you'll have 2 weeks. And then we'll send out that new schedule tomorrow. I know that Kelly and Rajan, I believe your town clerk, Rajan, met on Friday to filter in some additional tasks and dates. So we'll get that revised timeline out to you tomorrow.
Yeah, and the moderator also was involved. All right, Maria.
Yes, yep.
Did you have something to add?
Hold on.
Thank you. So my concern is that we're going to have to do a vote tomorrow night and do our final recommendations. And we would just we had a couple of questions on funding sources. Normally,
This is back on Article 3, Maria?
Well, specifically in Article 3, yes.
Okay.
But I guess a more general question, I need to go back with answers on the funding sources for this for tomorrow night. So specifically on Article 3, with assessing personnel, and I did have this conversation with Carter, that $4,900. I know it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but the assessing personnel position has been increased because that person now isn't going to be doing accounting work, which is fine because the accounting position is going to be split with the police position, right? There is some budgeting in there for the accounting position. The concern that we have is, first of all, we don't want to tax people more than we have to, any more than we have to. The concern we have is we're okay with the fact that all of these moving parts are taking place, but this has been funded essentially through the budget article for the admin for the police. The admin for the police have $57,000 in their budget. for an admin position, which we've now made half-time, which means there's presumably somewhere around $27,000 in that budget. We would like to see that be a budget line item transfer from the police to this line, not out of free cash and not out of taxation. And I know it's a small amount, but again, we're just trying to, death by 1,000 cuts, right? We've got a lot going on here, and we'd like, because that's already been funded and is going to be taxed and was approved at town meeting, to us, it makes more sense to make that a line item transfer from the police budget. FinCom was pretty adamant about that one thing. Everything else we discussed, we were a little bit more flexible on, but that is something that we all agreed should not come out of either taxation or free cash. And I need to bring some answer back for tomorrow night on that. Sorry, don't mean to put you on the spot.
Okay.
But we don't have another meeting scheduled before it's got to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I struggle to think of the application of free cash as death by 1,000 cuts, and we have modified this. I'll have the final numbers tomorrow. Transferring money out of the police is only going to further exacerbate a problem that we very likely face shortly before the annual town meeting. You have had one officer out on extended IOD duty. He remains out. You have had another officer out for a considerable period of time. The odds are that you are not going to make it through the entirety of the year. We can talk about it tomorrow night, but this, from my experience, seems to me to be the cleanest way to deal with this, and helps by not transferring any monies out of the police department, just buys a little bit more running room in that department.
Okay, I can bring that back. I know you are coming to our meeting tomorrow night, so you can discuss that.
Yes.
If that's the position of the board. Like I said, we're not trying to be difficult, but given that it's already funded, we're not comfortable. We understand the changes, so we're not questioning the personnel changes and why they, right? So I want to be clear with the board and the public on that. We're just questioning the funding mechanism on that.
Sure. And I think you can see by the strike throughs, the conversion to the use of some free cash, in attempt to accommodate as much of the sense of direction from the finance committee as we possibly can on the drafting side of this. Happy to talk about it tomorrow night. But all you're doing is taking running room away from what's going to be a clear need in the police department as we get deeper into the year.
Okay. The other thing that we had talked about, Carter, and we had talked about the treasurer collector. There was a lot of pushback on that position, the stipend, and a finance director at this point. But at a minimum, we wanted to see that number of $6,000, which is an annual number, be prorated, because town meeting's not happening until November, which
Sure.
would mean, that number should be some number less than 6,000, right? Because it should be from, let's say, November 15th, for sake of argument, versus from July 1st.
Okay.
So
I'll revisit this. And just so you'll understand, the way that I do these is try to do it in collaboration with the select board, at least in this community, and the finance committee. And I'll revisit that number tomorrow and be happy to speak to it tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Okay, Wes?
Yeah, so I guess my question then following up, maybe I'll bring this up to the finance committee tomorrow, is with the assessing the personnel, what is the plan if the police then run over by, let's say, 5,000? Is it just to do a reserve fund transfer? But at this point, I would say that it's potentially foreseen as an issue, and that may, some people may want to strictly hold to the definition and or intent of the reserve fund. You may run into issues down the road. And so that would just be not necessarily a word of caution or just not a warning. I don't know. That's just my observation and
that's a good
2
point,
cents.
Wes. that's a good point, and that's something we can talk about. I do think that once you get to that magic date, you can do transfers. The select board has the opportunity to make interdepartmental transfers. We did 80,000 this year. So that is something that could be done for the police overruns. The problem is we don't really know if there's going to be police overruns, if there's not going to be. We don't know what that's going to shake out at. But we do know for sure that there's a minimum of about $26,000 extra in that salary line that the public did not vote necessarily for officer salaries, but in fact for admin support. And because of those changes that are being done, which again, it's not about the changes, that 4,900 should be funded out of that admin support. In the opinion of FinCom, it keeps transparency. Really, if there's a police issue, then we need to deal with the police budget on that, is the feeling I would think but we're not doing that. So, it's a conversation for tomorrow night, and I will bring that up and see what the position of the FinCom is. But thank you. That's a good point.
Diana?
Yeah, I'd just like to remind everyone that basically we have two things that we vote on in town meeting, which is salary and other. And so the salary line item is not specifically for any given individual group or person or whatever. It is a fungible item which goes towards salary. So technically speaking, town meeting does not vote for that administrator. It votes for a salary line item as a whole. And I think that's Carter's point, is that that line item under salary may be needed going forward. So why do we want to go to that point and move it out and then have to move it back? If there is an overage at the end of the year, it goes towards free cash. And we're all very happy to have it in free cash, and we'll use it for something else. But I just want to remind people, there are two things. We vote for salary and we vote for other.
Okay. All right. Anything else on Article 3? All right, moving on to
Article 5, if we might, yes.
Yeah.
So on the Water Resources Committee, that's the Harvard Sports Club issue. I talked with Les today as to whether or not, that falls under their province. They're going to vote, I believe, a support measure in the next day or two. Ed Kukula has arranged to meet with folks at the Harvard Sportsman's Club. Unfortunately, that can't happen until after tomorrow night. So maybe there can be some sort of fluid measure vote that I can work with Maria on in case that number can come down a little bit. There is a number that we're working on tomorrow in the land grant. There are some very specific things that you have to do that weren't budgeted for. They're not large items. Ed Kukula did take a look today with Ms. Harris. We may have enough materials on hand to do some of them. You have to develop a parking lot or a trailhead by June 1 of 2023. You have to put a sign up noting that the property was paid for with the assistance of land grant monies. So I don't anticipate anything really dramatic here, but I did want to make everyone aware of that. And unless there's any questions on that, we could move on to Article
Maria?
6.
So I just need to understand, you may come back with an added number, an added thing for land grant tomorrow night to us.
I may have to, yes, because Ed wasn't able to get out to Harvard Sportsman's Club. He's meeting with representatives of them so we can agree a scope of work. And I need to talk with him about how much material he does have on hand, the cost of signage. There's a management plan. There's a few items in the grant conditions that were not included either in money or in language in the article passed at the annual town meeting.
Okay, and we have no idea what that's looking like, because I will say that there is some money within the Conservation Commission, within the Conservation Commission's budget for some additional work. So just something to think about.
We should have a sense of the Sergeant Road number by tomorrow night, but I can't refine the 12-5 Harvard Sportsman's Club until after Ed has viewed the property, which cannot happen until Wednesday morning, as representatives of the club need to be able to be present with him.
Okay, thank you.
What's next, Carter?
Article 6, where I think we've got some really good news based upon, so this number will be coming down to $175,000, which is the gross figure. Upon that allows for the base bid, the drainage for the soccer field, the development of the basketball court, and a reasonable contingency. Once the project is fully completed, and I think the deadline is there's a private donation, which we've included some information on at the back end of the warrant here, of $50,000, which would be paid to the town as a reimbursement. So your net cost would come down to $125,000. Depending upon how much of the contingency that you use, that number might even be considerably less. And in line 3, obviously a correction spelling for appropriation for approbation. So what we did after the meeting that we had, I think Maria was there, Jennifer was there, we had the engineer, 2 reps from the rec commission. I worked with Hillary and we kind of threw out everything that we talked about that day, and went right back to the drawing board to rebuild a revenue number and an expense number. And we realized that the engineer's numbers did not include all of the revenues and a correct accounting for all of the expenses. So Hillary has revetted my numbers, and we'll meet with the Recreation Commission tomorrow night to make sure that this is the direction they want to go in. And then Hillary will be with me when we go to the Finance Committee. But at this point, we're looking at bringing this number down to $175,000.
With a possible offsetting gift of 50K, did you say?
So
Yes,
the gift has been, we have a letter saying that the gift is guaranteed. It's a reimbursement specific to pickleball. So it is a guarantee, as much as anything can be a guarantee. Diana?
we will vote to have the board accept that gift once we've signed the contract.
Okay,
Right.
so I do have some questions about the gift. First of all, the pickleboards have pickleboard courts, whatever, have to be completed. Have to be completed by the end of 2023, I believe, December 2023. But that I am questioning is it makes the assumption or makes the condition that those courts are open to anyone wherever they may live, not just Boxborough.
Yep.
Is that a concern in any way? Because we do charge recreation fees and things of that sort. I mean, how is this all going to fit in? Is there any concern that this is a gift coming from a foundation of some sort? And I think they're based in Acton, based on what I see. So I don't know what our reciprocal agreements are, for example, with Acton in terms of using their recreational facilities. I'm just questioning this. I'm not saying it's a negative. I have questions about whether it opens up the courts for use by so many people that it could limit accessibility by Boxborough residents.
Well, Acton's tennis courts, for example, are not Acton's, they're the Regions. So that is not the same thing. And I don't believe the intention of the pickleball courts was to have residents sign up and someone managing that. I think that would be way too much. Basically, you can reserve, I would assume, if you have a specific event going on, just like you could reserve the fields, but otherwise it's basically a first come, first serve. That's my understanding. Wes?
All right, Carter, do you want to?
I just had a question. Does anybody know if you have used land and water conservation funds at all in the acquisition or development of Liberty Field? The reason I asked that,
Yes,
The
we've used
reason-
CPC funds.
used what?
We use CPC funds, I believe, in the amount of,
Okay. No, land and water conservation
Maybe not
funds
the acquisition.
come from the Fed, and they specifically require that the facilities be open to any and all persons without restriction as to their residence. So I'll try and check on that in the morning, because you may, and I thought I heard Maria say you may have used LWCF monies to acquire properties. You may have that requirement in there already, Diana, but I'll try to work on that tomorrow.
okay, I just want a clarification, that's all.
Yep.
Hey,
So all I was
anything
gonna
else?
all I was going to add was I think that's, I don't want to say a future us problem, but if people want to use our pickleball courts and we've paid a lot of money for redeveloping everything, I'm just happy to have people use it. Kind of like my pool, like I still have to chlorinate it until it's closed. And so like if you invite people over to come swimming, like at least somebody's using it.
So we're all invited to Wes's pool. Okay.
Okay there, Wes, there we go.
All right.
Totally.
What's next, Carter?
If we can go to number 11, please. We sent this off to Sheila Bauer. This had to do with changing the rates, which was in the original draft. It has to do with cleaning up the pay plan. You may recall that last week I spoke about how an employee had brought to our attention that our interpretation of the pay plan was different than theirs. I did have one or two individuals trying to guess who that was. It's not the person everybody was guessing. And in fairness to both employees, we dealt with this. And I think it was in fairness to the employees, because if you read it through their eyes, it came out with a different interpretation. And we need to recognize that, and then we need to correct it once we recognize it. And so if you can scroll down a little bit. You know, it talked about, there were two actual sections. One talked about promotion, the other one talked about promotion and reclassification, and it talked about being moved to a minimum rate for the higher class to the step immediately above. What did that really mean? If you looked at the chart, you know, if they were a step 8, should it go immediately to step 8? So this is the language that we've used in a union contract. We think it's clearer. It's much more concise. It just simply says if you get reclassified or promoted, you go to the first step of the higher grade that gives you a pay raise of at least 5%. We think this is just much cleaner. So those two employees have received the raises as they viewed the plan, and this would now put this forward in a clearer, better language. The next section that we're proposing to add, we're proposing to grant regular part-time employees vacations as well. That change, we talked about that well over a year ago. Sick leave was done at the annual town meeting. We'd like to do this for the part-timers as well. And then to the leave of absence section, we're adding the sick leave bank, and I've received some input from members of the board on this that I'll address in the next day or two. This is the language that you've approved so far, and we'll wait to hear from the personnel board. I'll reach out to Sheila in the morning. And with that, we could move to Article 13, unless there's any questions in there. So I did get some revised language from Ms. Markowitz, who's been spearheading this for the planning board. I did not get a chance to get it plugged in before the packet came out to you. I believe it's much more specific as to exactly what would be undertaken as a scope of work. But tomorrow morning, we'll get these various changes in here and get that out to you all and to the finance committee. And I think we attached two documents, if I remember correctly. One was the letter from the donor. If you could keep scrolling down through. Oh, and this is had to do with the new statute. You opt in on one side, you opt out of the other. It's not clear whether you do it. Yes, if you can keep. Yep. So, early voting by mail is required for local elections and primaries unless the city or town opts out. It explains the process by which you opt out. What wasn't clear to us, and your town clerk sent a letter down to the election guru. I don't think she's gotten an answer just yet as to, is this every single election? And if you forget to opt out, that means you are in. And the second half, is early voting, and you don't opt out, you opt in. So we're trying to get a little bit of added information on that, and we're hoping to have that for the finance committee meeting tomorrow night. So we wanted you to be aware of why that was still a little bit in the breeze. And then we had the letter from the donor. And the finish date, the completion date, we're very comfortable with.
Well, that it has to be within that time because of the bonding, correct?
Pretty close to it, yeah. Yep.
Okay, Maria?
I have a question, and I know this isn't on here, and I know that it's been made public that the grant's coming in for the land, for the Sergeant Road land.
Yes.
That was originally bonded for $675,000, I believe, but they've received a $400,000 grant. We had talked about then, and I know that Jennifer, you and I had discussed it. Do we want to, since we have the opportunity, change the funding mechanism for the balance of this purchase from a bond, which costs money, to bond and interest, and then that taxes people, to free cash? And if we wanted to do that, we would need to do that within the special town meeting. I haven't discussed this with the FinCom per se. We haven't. I think we talked about it. We asked the question when they came to us last year discussing the article for town meeting. It's something that I think that the FinCom might be open to, based on the fact that we did ask the question, when are we going to know about this bond? Because it'd be better to do free cash. I mean, the grant would be better to do free cash than bonding, because that, then we're not taxing the citizens. And we do have $2.9 million in certified free cash. That's the highest we've had since 2017. And that's a lot for free cash.
So let me just clarify. The process for this is something that the finance committee decides, but what you need from us is whether it goes in the warrant.
No, this is not the process we would decide. It's a process the select board to decide. All I'm saying is, have you considered it? You would need to do a warrant article that asks to change the funding mechanism from bonding to free cash. That's a select board decision. I think the FinCom would have a positive take, given that we had a lot of conversation about it last April when we had the group in front of us discussing their full, cost.
Well, I think we can discuss this because it's part of our discussion on the warrant. So I'm going to stop screen sharing, but I'm going to call on Diana.
Okay, so Carter, what is the bonding rate?
I believe you're AA, are you not?
With AAA.
AAA. Let's, if I can just circle back first, please remember that the grant is a reimbursement grant. You must complete everything. There are sections of it you must complete by June 1 of 2020. 2023, the parking lot, the signage, some of the things we talked about a little bit earlier. There are a number of things that you must do by June 30 of 2023, and no cost incurred after June 30 of 2023 is reimbursable. So until you file all the documents, you don't know exactly how much money you're going to get. Obviously, you hope to max it out and hit the full $400,000. So you'd have to appropriate the entirety to replace the entire bonding mechanism in order to do this. That really, once again, it takes away a lot of running room away from you if something happens mid-year or the like. So what you can do, and what to me makes them, and you also authorized your road improvements via bonding. You have another $300,000 there. So what seems to make the most sense is to do a bond anticipation note that would be due probably January of 2024. Then when you have everything settled out, hopefully you can, SVT gets everything done, they sell it over to you, you get everything done. The sooner you can get that settled, get your documents in, you would know exactly what you're getting. You could appropriate monies either at the annual town meeting of 2023 or the fall town meeting of 2023, because this free cash of 2.9 million is not going down dramatically. It's my firm recommendation that you retain the flexibility and the running room to be able to do this, and you wouldn't be going to bonding. And in fact, now that you have the full land grant, you're probably going to want to do a 2-year State House note instead. I'm not sure there's time to sort this all out in a way that's risk-free between now and the next 3-4 days.
That's fine. I just put it out there. I want to make sure that it was out there, and because a couple of people have asked me, and you know, if it wasn't a reimbursement grant, then yes, that would have maybe made more sense. So that's fine. That way I have an answer to bring back to FinCom tomorrow night.
Yeah, the reimbursement grant really is what puts a wrinkle in the whole thing. Plus the $300,000 you have over on the road. You have to go to bond anyways, and when you drive bonds down too small, they're really not attractive in the marketplace.
So we haven't gone to bond yet.
Oh, I learned my lesson last time around. No, ma'am.
Well, it's too bad because the interest rates have gone up so much. That's what I was asking. You know, I was hoping that.
Yeah, but a bond anticipation note of 9 months to a year is still going to be, I think, a very attractive interest rate to you.
Okay. So I agree with everything that you said, Carter, because obviously that's really makes more sense. So I definitely think we should go that route. That's the way I was leaning. Thank you for the response.
I vote for the ban approach too. That we've done that in the past, and it's always worked well for us.
Yeah, but I think it's always good to question and bring things up, because
I had one other question about the free cash. That 2.9 million does not include the ARPA funds, correct?
It does not.
No, and just I did a quick spreadsheet today on that. The big jump really took place in 2020, right? Because we didn't, you know, we just shut down. So a lot of our funds were not used. And then that rolled back into free cash. That's why it's so high. And I think that FinCom's looking to use free cash to fund a lot for the special town meeting.
We also got a lot of permits that were not accounted for or anticipated with Viable Logics and the Rancho Bio building.
Right.
And then you had the 1 year in which, I mean, there were a number of factors there.
So, but this is the highest it's been since, 2017, it was 1.3 million, right? I've never in all my years heard free cash above around 2.1 million, let alone 2.9. So we have the free cash and we've already taxed everyone. So we might as well, if we can use it, I think that that's a good, for the residents, that's a good plan. So
Just make sure that you don't call like the building permits are not necessarily taxes. I don't know, are they taxes? But building permits are like permitting and fees, and so like those don't necessarily get. That's not necessarily coming out of like your pocket or mine as a resident.
No, I understand that, but the tax for that particular year that we under calculated those permitting fees, we had that we didn't consider that to be local receipts, right? So we did tax because we didn't know that was coming in. So if we can offer some relief by not using taxation as much as possible for what we're funding right now, we should do that. I think is our,
Okay.
but anyway.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
think we can make some added accommodations on that. I would suggest that at the annual town meeting, you might want to step up your contribution to the OPEB, which would be one way to draw that number down. And we did talk briefly, perhaps, about a capital stabilization reserve dedicated to capital.
Yeah, I think we backed off on our OPEB contribution the last time. Okay, so now we're going to rethink that.
Yeah,
Our open contribution has been consistent. We backed off on on our reserve fund.
Yeah, we haven't skipped.
OPEB has been consistent. We
so
have
that's
not,
Okay, well.
that's where we are
No.
as this has evolved, Jennifer.
and we need to do once we get accounting and treasurer, I think we need an updated actuarial report, if I'm not mistaken on that. It was supposed to be done by Jennifer a while ago. It hasn't, so before she left. So we really need to look at that for upcoming
That would
in
be
the next
good.
year. But that's different. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, anything else on the fall town meeting warrant?
The last two articles are money articles, so now that it's clear they're staying in, we'll probably move them up into the money section, so you might see some renumbering.
Okay,
My understanding is you kind of do money articles together, and then the zoning is at the tail end.
well, that's the way we do it now. We've talked about possibly switching it up because zoning kind of gets short shifted. And maybe it shouldn't be, but I think this meeting is not probably the time to make that change. Okay, any other board or administrator comments and reports?
Is this so we're moving on from the town or the warrant?
Well, if you have anything else on the warrant, go right ahead.
No, I was just making sure that it wasn't like board or administrator comments or reports on the warrant, or not necessarily on the next item. Okay.
Yeah,
Diana has her hand up, but I'll go after her.
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to bring this up, and I don't know because it's not on the agenda, but I just want to make this note. I think that this board needs to have a really strong discussion about how we respond to open meeting law complaints, public records requests, what our process is. I've been getting a lot of feedback about the lack of timeliness in terms of responses. And this is not meant to point blame at anyone, believe me. I just would like us to improve our responses to our citizens and to handle issues as they come up in a more timely fashion. I think there may be some disconnect here. And so I would like it to go on to a future agenda that we have a little more fulsome discussion of this issue.
I can say that having been copied on many of these correspondence, some of the complainants are not going to be satisfied, and therefore what their response is, they assume is indicating that further discussion can occur, when actually it is a conclusive answer on our part. And so some of that timeliness has been because they simply don't take no for an answer. The other thing is that we have you saw the bills. I mean, $5,000 in legal bills in the month of July, just for this type of question. So some of the sheer volume has overwhelmed, I know, the town clerk's office, and I know the town administrator's office. And so some of this is not, that it's not a priority, but I agree, we should put it on a future agenda. Wes?
I have two items. I I realized that I am actually triple booked for October 22nd. And so I can't help out, I guess, the day of for the employee appreciation event, but I can help out the day before as much as I can to get stuff prepped or leading up to it to help prep it. So
Yeah, this is the volunteer appreciation event. Yeah.
yeah. So I can do whatever that. The second thing I guess I just wanted to comment on is that I've heard a lot of comments, and I really want to set expectations for the new town administrator coming in, because I've heard comments, and Carter, you can cover yours so your feelings don't get hurt. But I've heard comments like people will say, oh, as soon as we get the new town administrator, everything will be going great, or the town's going to be moving in a better direction. And I also just want to set people's expectations that while you may, or that may be the belief, ultimately at the end of the day, the town administrator takes direction from the select board. And so the policies and those things, I think that we've been working towards, I don't really see changing just because a new person in that seat. And I want to set a lot of people, because this is, I've heard this from several residents as well. And so also, just to bring awareness that in terms of, I do believe that there is a honeymoon period. So when something's new and it's awesome and this is the best thing ever, and at the end of the day, the honeymoon period ends and then you realize what you have. And so I want to make sure that people's expectations aren't up here in the honeymoon period. And while Michael is high performing and I expect him to do extremely well, there could be some, like if you're talking about like interstellar expectations of change, and just one night we have Carter and the next night it's Michael, and then the next day I expect everything to be sunshine and rainbows. It's not going to be like that. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening, a lot of attitudes that have been being had, and those are also not going to change overnight, and they're going to contribute to kind of the atmosphere in town. And so I really just wanted to either have this discussion at some point in the future, but making sure that people are aware that it's not just going to be a magical switch that flips. There's not going to be everything's perfect the next day, because if that's the case, we're effectively setting somebody up to fail from day one.
Well, I had a similar discussion with somebody where I said, I hope that, you know, if and when this person stumbles, because we all do, because we're human, that we will give him the benefit of the doubt and, you know, roll with it. So, all right. Any other board members have any comments or questions? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Diana moved. Wes, do you want a second? Okay. Les?
Cox, aye.
Wes?
Okay.
Diana?
Lepari, aye.
And Campbell, aye. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kirby. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Rajan and Carter. Have a good night.